Welcome! Thank you for joining us for today's lesson. This is part of a 13-lesson series brought to you by the Food Trust Nutrition Educators. The Food Trust works to ensure that everyone has access to affordable, nutritious food and the information to make healthy choices. In this series, we'll be covering topics such as how to shop at a farmer's market, stretching your food dollars, storing fruits and vegetables, and more. Join us every other week as we share nutrition information from my plate, as well as tips and tricks to eating more healthy food at every meal. Each bi-weekly lesson will be followed by a recipe featuring a seasonal ingredient you can find at your local farmer's market or grocery store. Meet our nutrition educators, who you'll get to know through our lessons or recipe demonstrations. We're excited to have you with us. Thanks again for joining us. Please fill out our anonymous survey at the end of this video so that we can find out more about who we're reaching and how to serve our audience best. Mention that you watched our lesson online and you can earn food coupons to use when purchasing fruits or vegetables at a participating farmer's market. Find the list of participating markets below on the survey form. We hope you come back for our next lesson. See you then!
Welcome back to another Food Trust recipe demo. My name is Wayne. I'm a nutrition educator at the Food Trust, and today's recipe will be summer strawberry and Kalamata salad. The recipe for the day is just lettuce, strawberries, walnuts, dates, and of course olives. Let's get started. We're going to get started with drain the olives first. Just want to drain enough for a cup. Let them sit there for a minute. And then of course the spring lettuce is what we have here. We don't have to wash this because as we can see on the bag it's already washed, but normally when you're using fresh fruits and vegetables, especially when you pick them up at the farmer's market or supermarket, you always want to wash that stuff off. But because this is already washed and clean, the only thing you can do here is just lay your spring vegetables or spring lettuce on top of your plate. Let that sit there for a minute while we let those olives drain. Olives look good enough to drain. And the olives, what you want to do with them, you just want to chop them up. You want to make them as uniformity as you can, the size. You want to try to create one size for all of the ingredients that you're using. The walnuts, the strawberries, you would like to have them, they don't have to be exactly the same size, but you would like to have them at least close to it. The goal for that is that when you take a bite or if you get, when you put the salad in your mouth, that you can get most of what you have in there, the ingredients. You would like to have every piece if you can. That adds to the taste of the salad, and you don't end up with too much olives or too much walnuts or strawberries. So you want to cut all of the ingredients to a size that's close to one another. Now, as you cut this up, your olives, always remember when you're using a knife, one of the most important things about using a knife is that your knife is sharp. You always want to use a sharp knife because a dull knife, well, it makes your job a little harder. And also, if it's dull, it depends on what you're cutting. It can actually give you uneven cuts or rude cuts to something that you're cutting. Say if you was cutting like when we get to the dates, because the dates in this recipe is probably the most complicated thing to cut because they'll stick to your knife. And because the knife is sharp, that means that you may be able to get less sticking. But if the knife is dull, when you get to the pit in the date, and I'll show you in a minute, when you get to the pits in the date, the knife, if it's dull, that's where your problem will come from. Now that we have the olives cut up, then we want to do the strawberries. Remember always that when you're doing the strawberries or any fresh fruits or vegetables, you always want to wash them off. Just wash them off a little bit, let them drain. And the reason that we wash them off, especially if we're dealing with fresh fruit, there may be any number of things that's on those fresh fruits, from pesticide or just through transportation. So once you wash them off, again, you want to cut the strawberries. Try to get them in the same size if you can. You don't have to be perfect, but get as close as you can to the size of the olives. Since we cut the olives first, the olives is actually now what dictate the size of the strawberries and the walnuts. So you don't have to guess. You look at the olives, you get an idea how big the olives are. Then you do the same thing with the strawberries. And then you follow through with the dates and the walnuts we'll get to in a minute. You want to chop the walnuts up in a way that they too will be small. But I generally try to smash them. But I find it's better to use a knife than to smash the walnuts, because the walnut, again, a sharp knife, because sharp knife will help it make it a lot more easier to break the walnuts down to the size that you need, as opposed to crushing. But if you like to crushing is good. Remember, whenever you're making a recipe, that you're making a recipe for you, something that you like. Here we're using strawberries. You may want to use another fruit. You may want to use apples, tangerines, kiwi, any other fruit that you like. Again, this recipe just calls for strawberries. And remember, whenever you're making a recipe is just a generalization for you to follow the guidelines in terms of amount, size, portion, how many people you're making the recipe for. All that is important. And always remember that whenever you are fixing food, the first thing we want to do, as I did earlier, is wash your hands. Even if you're cooking for yourself, it's a good practice. You know, if you're home alone and it's just you cooking, it's a good practice to always wash your hands. Okay, once you finish the strawberries, put that away, because this here, once I finish cutting the strawberry, I don't want this left. This here, once we're finished with that, that's waste. And you always want to get rid of the waste. Put it somewhere, either in a trash bag near your trash can, or just have an extra bowl sitting on top where you can get rid of the waste. Why? Because you want to get that waste out the way. You're not going to use it anymore. So you want to get it out the way, and it helps us to be better organized and create a better, simple meal without the complications. Okay, that's a half a cup of strawberries. And now we're going to go to the dates. Now the dates you don't necessarily have to wash, because the dates was already washed and put in a package. Anything that's washed already and packaged, you normally don't have to wash that. But if you feel comfortable washing it, go ahead and do that. Now, as I said earlier, with a sharp knife, it will allow us to be able to cut right through the dates and avoid hitting that pit or getting stuck on that pit. Sharp knife allows you to cut right around the pit and straight into the date, separating the pit from the date. Don't worry about the date getting stuck on your knife, because that's going to happen because it's a date. And once you cut this up, you're looking for a half a cup. Just remove the date from off your knife. Push it on the side. Like that. Because we want to put the dates on last. The dates and the walnuts is like a topping. So the dates and the walnuts are not going directly into the salad. They're just going to lay on top of the salad when we finish. So we separate the dates and the walnuts from the strawberries and the olives. They will go straight into the actual salad. Another thing is, we're making this salad. The salad dressing that you use could be any salad dressing that you like. It's just a normal, it's no unique special salad dressing for this recipe or most recipes. A salad dressing that you like, that you normally make, would do. Here we're just going to use a little olive oil, vinegar, salt, pepper, a little garlic, fresh garlic chopped up into the salad dressing, let it sit. I usually do that like maybe 2 or 3 days ahead. I like having my salad dressing to sit for a while as opposed to just having it fresh and using it. I like it to sit because as long as it sits, the salad dressing becomes like, it marinates. It becomes like one taste as opposed to 3 or 4 different tastes. You know how you might taste more salt, more pepper. But the longer you let the salad dressing sit, the salad dressing begins to become one taste, one salad dressing. That looks good. That's a half a cup. Now we'll move to our walnuts. Don't worry about the dates, y'all getting close here. Just move that to the side. Then we take our walnuts, put them, I would like to separate that from there, and just crunch up your walnuts, just like that. Again, you just want little small chunks where the walnut is not so big that it actually interferes with the texture of the salad itself. For example, if you put a walnut that big in there, it kind of interferes with the texture of the salad. Make it rougher. So I want to make it real small so that when you get a bite of the walnut, it's not really in the way of your salad and your tasting of it, okay? And again, this calls for just a half a cup of walnuts. Take a look at the size as you chop them. And that's a good size. It's a good size because it's nice and small. It's not too big. Okay, now while I'm doing that, what I like to do always is take my salad dressing now and just sprinkle a little bit of it on top of the salad, just a little. I don't want to put too much salad dressing on because I don't want it to be drenched. So we're going to put some more salad dressing on the strawberries and olives, and then probably pour some on top once we get done. Now, once we get done with that, put that back there. Let's just sprinkle the strawberries and olives on top, if you can see that. Good. When you think you got a good side, you might like olives more than you like strawberries, or strawberries more than you like olives. That's okay. So again, remember, you're making this recipe for you. So as you're doing this, you have the size in which that you want, and you take a look at the, the half a cups. You take a look at it and see how much of it you want to put in. Now we'll put the dates on top. Now the dates, of course, because they're sticky, once you begin to put them on top, what I'm going to do is use my hands to break the dates up so that we won't have chunky clumps of dates. We want little small pieces of dates. Okay? Starting to look good. And of course, we're going to have to taste it because that's the real determination of a good salad. At the end, the taste. Okay. Now let's take a little walnuts, mix that on top. Now at this point, we'll pour just a little bit more salad dressing on top. Just a little bit more. Not much. The recipe also calls for cheese. And so the cheese we're going to use today, just a little, not a lot of cheese, just enough to add to the flavor and of course the taste. And what we'll do is just sprinkle a little cheese on the topping Just enough for added taste. The look is good, but the added taste is what you really want to focus on. Now when you get done, that's what your salad should look like. If you look at it, look even all the way around. Strawberries right, walnuts right, dates right, good mixture. Now comes the taste. Certainly you want to know what it tastes like. If you haven't tried this before, I suggest you try it, because this is my first time trying this, is my third time making it, but this is actually my first time trying this. And sometimes I find that when I try a new recipe, it's not until I actually taste it that I actually appreciate the recipe.